Hi, this is Laura Workala with Laura's Sewing School in Arlington, Massachusetts. And today I'm going to talk about a variety of things related to making a pillow cover. I'm just going to do this teeny tiny one that I happen to have a form for. It says 10 by 10 inches. And because this is so puffy, I'm going to make the cover the same size when it's done as the pillow form. If it was a feather pillow form, which can really pack down, or you wanted a form that's really full, you could cut the fabric 10 inches square, do a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and have a 9-inch pillow form cover and make it very puffy and very full. But this, I don't really want to squeeze it down anymore. It's really full. This is a fiber fill one from Fairfield. So anyway, so I've cut my squares 11 inches to give myself a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Most home deck has a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So I've got my pillow form. This makes it so you can, we're going to put an invisible zipper in here, so that makes it so the cover is washable. And or you could change the cover on the pillow for different seasons, which is kind of nice too. So here is the pillow form. If you don't have the measurements because the pillow form has been used, don't just measure from here to here on a grid or something, because this is 3-dimensional. You want to take a tape measure and run from seam allowance to see how big that really is. And I would measure this way and this way, even though it's a square, because sometimes when they mass produce pillows or whatever it is, they are not exactly accurate. So you want to do that. Okay, I'm going to leave the plastic on here, which seems kind of funny, but that will help us slide it into the pillow cover when we are done. You're going to need a zipper. I like to use invisible zippers on pillows because all you will see will be a dangle tab. So let's say this looks kind of pretty, but you're only going to see, I love this fabric, you're only going to see this little dangly tab. Do you see that? That's all you're going to see. And the reason is because the teeth are on the back of the zipper. The right side of the zipper is this smooth part. This is really great for clothing when you want to have the zipper basically replace the seam. I find I really prefer them on pillows. And pillows don't get a lot of stress. If it was a cushion for a chair, I would not use an invisible zipper because it's not strong enough. But this is a regular zipper, and you can see the teeth are on the front, and the zipper tab is also on the front of the zipper. And the teeth are there. That actually looks pretty good with that, but I do not want to use that on the edge of a knife edge pillow. You'll have to, it'll show, and you really don't want that. So I really prefer doing an invisible zipper. Now this one is really long. You could use it because you can always shorten a zipper, but you can never lengthen a zipper. So if you look at this opens up like this, and the teeth are to the back, okay? And it can slide up and down because, I don't know how well you can see this. I'm gonna put this under the light. These zipper teeth roll to the back, and you can actually unroll them, and you do that with the iron so that you can stitch next to the teeth, and then it'll cover that, and it'll take the place of the seam line instead. So it's a really cool process. People think zippers are so scary. I mean, literally, people say, I'm so scared of zippers to me. And I've been teaching for so long. And I say, if you just know what you're doing, they are not scary. You just have to take your time and do it. And then the more you do it, the easier it becomes. Okay. So this, like I said, is an invisible zipper. I'm going to be putting that at one edge of both of these pieces. Okay. And I'm going to put the zipper in between these two edges before I sew the rest of the sides together. Okay. So it'll go between these two edges. I do not want to have it go corner to corner because it will not finish nicely. You do not want the zipper to go all the way from one end to the other. You want to stop short either 1.5 inches to 2 inches from the corner. On a larger pillow, I would mark 2 inches from each corner for where the zipper is going to start and stop. On this, it's a little smaller proportion, so I'm going to go 1.5 inches from each corner. Now, I wanted to show you this, but I'm not going to use that. I don't want to waste that zipper. I'm going to use a shorter zipper. So this zipper is a 7. They often come in packages saying a 7 to 9 inch zipper, an 11 to 13 inch zipper, or a 12 to 14 inch zipper. They kind of give you a range because you never sew all the way down to where the zipper tab can go. On a regular zipper, when you insert that, it's often called a slot zipper when the seam meets in the middle. You actually go down below the little zipper stop and up again. So you're going to sew the whole length of the zipper, though you can shorten it also. This zipper, you cannot sew all the way down to this because this zipper slider gets in the way. This dangly thing is called the tab, okay? And this is called the slider. These are the teeth. This is made by a coil, an actual, like an old phone cord, a coil, nylon coil zipper. And then this part, this fabric part, is called the tape. Anything that's long and flat like this is tape. Ribbon is a tape. Scotch tape is a tape. Anything that's long and flat like that is called a tape. This looks like a twill tape because it's got a zigzag weave to it, like a twill weave. It's very sturdy, does not fray, okay? So what I want to do is I'm going to use this, and I've already done a process which I want to show you real quickly. Actually, let me talk first about the edges. Okay, I've decided to sew two of these edges together. This is quilting fabric, so it can get puckery because when I sew this, I sew with the zipper side on top. Excuse me. And then this is against the feed dogs, and the feed dogs might feed it a little faster and make it look a little puckery. So what I did is I took a strip of interfacing, fusible interfacing, and put it on the back here, just on the edge where I am going to put the zipper. This is a fusible interfacing. It's a fusible white cotton woven interfacing. Pellon calls it Shape Flex. I think the number is 101 if you're looking for it. HTC also makes one. I find this a really useful interfacing for a lot of things. I do not like non-woven interfacings, but if that's what you have, it will stabilize that area. So you get a very smooth finish along that edge where the zipper will go. Okay, so I just wanted to show you that. The other thing I wanted to show you is that we want to finish or keep this edge from fraying before we put the zipper in, because we cannot do that after the zipper gets put in, okay? So I'm gonna just move that zipper out of the way briefly while I talk to you about finishing the edge. I'm gonna talk to you about a few different things today that can apply to many projects, okay? So it's not just about putting a zipper in a pillow. You can use these techniques for putting a zipper in a dress, in a skirt, in a few different places. You can also use, I'm gonna talk to you about thread color, and I'm gonna talk to you about overcasting. Overcasting is casting thread over the edge of the fabric to keep the fabric from fraying. When it's cut along the thread line, you can pull on threads and they come right off if you do not have thread over the edge. Now there are a couple different ways that you can keep an edge from fraying, okay? So I'm going to show you how to do that in a variety of ways, okay? So it depends on your machine and what you have as to what's the best way to do this. Now, one thing I wanted to do is I wanted to talk about thread color, and I am going to jump back to that right now because I have kind of a gray thread on the machine, and I wanted to talk to you about thread color because I'm going to show you the different seam finishes on a white fabric, and I want it to be a contrast when I do that. So I pulled out a bunch of threads that are in this fabric, these colors. Very similar threads, okay? Oh, that's a lot of threads, right? But I wanted to show you that a lot of times we will focus on a color in the fabric that we like, okay? Or maybe we look, and very carefully we look and say, oh, that's a black background, so I'll use black thread. Not a good idea because there's not that much black in this fabric. What you want to do is that you have some very light colors like these bright greens, even white. So I brought white. But if you were to use white across the fabric, I hope you can see this, but you're going to see it. It's going to stand out because there's actually very little white in this fabric, okay? Well, then you can say, well, maybe I'll try bright green. I love this bright green. It's really fun. I love this fabric. But again, there's still a lot of fabrics darker than that bright green, and the green stands out a lot, okay? Now, what I can do is I can say, well, then I'll use a dark color. Here's this purple. It's not black, but it's dark. But what you will find is that it shows a lot across these lighter and medium colors. It's too dark, okay? So I'm really gonna then say, well, those aren't working. Okay, here's a blue, and there's a lot of blue in here. But again, it blends against this blue, but it doesn't blend across a lot of the lighter colors. So I'm not happy with that, okay? So I'm going to bring in something. Now this looks a little darker, but again, it's too light. It's showing across a lot of the colors. So I'm going to bring in something kind of medium. And I find that this red is actually pretty good. There's a lot of red tints in here. When you look at red, orange, purple, pink, you know, so that blends actually quite well. Sometimes it's good when you do that. Just lay out the threads and look at them in one direction. But look at them from over here. Look at them from over here. Look at them from over here, because sometimes the shadows of the light you're using can change the way it looks. Like right now, I can even turn off this light and see if that makes a difference in which disappears and which shows up, okay? I'm finding, of course, the white is not good. So I pull away the ones that are obviously not going to work. That white one, this green, even though I love this color, that doesn't work. So I'm going to take that away. This dark color, this purple, great color. Of course, you probably can tell I like bright colors. That doesn't work. This blue, this is too dark. Okay, now I'm narrowing it down. Now I'm finding that this is still too light, this one right here. So I'm going to pull that out. Okay, so it doesn't mean that you have to choose just one color. You have a choice here. Like you could see in the zippers, I was already leaning toward, you know, colors that would work. You could use this color or you could use the red, and either one of them seem to disappear equally across this fabric. So I'm going to choose one of those in order to do my project. What I've decided right now is I'm going to pull the red away, because I think that it would work really well for me when I sew the red zipper. Maybe this will contrast and you'll be able to see my lines of stitching better. So that's what I'm going to choose to do. Now, I'm going to change the thread rather quickly, hopefully rather quickly. I was working on a project, I think the other day. It's hard to remember what I've been working on. I know what it was. I'll have to do this for you guys. I think you'd really like the project I did the other day. It was mending jeans invisibly. It's a really cool technique, and I've done it with a variety of my students, and I think the first time I did it was over 30 years ago, maybe 35 years ago. But what's really cool is that you finish and you can't even tell where the hole was in the jeans. It's really amazing. So pull out that bobbin, and then I actually wound a bobbin of both the red and this kind of bluey teal color. I don't know, it's kind of a Caribbean blue. I don't know what to call it. Anyway, let's see. Oh, there's the cover. And all right, so I'm going to put this aside. And here are the white pieces of fabric, okay? Now, many people do not have, they may have an overcasting stitch, but you don't have a foot to do it, okay? Now, if you do a zigzag, I talked about this a little bit in my scrub cap video, but what happens is when I do a zigzag, let's say I pick a zigzag. Oops, got to change my mode. Oops, what is my mode on this machine? There we go. All right. If I do a zigzag along an edge, what can happen is there's tension on the thread. And you want the thread to go over the edge. But there's tension on the top thread. On mine, it's a knob here. A lot of people's, it's a dial on the machine. What you're going to find is it makes a mess of the edge, because the tension on the top and in the bobbin just really rolls the edge. It looks terrible. It just does not work very well. It changes the shape of this. I mean, can you see that? It looks awful. So one solution which works quite well is to use something called a three-step zigzag. So instead of going from right to left in one big step, it goes from left, 1, 2, 3 to the right, 1, 2, 3 to the left, 1, 2, 3 to the right, 1, 2, 3 to the left, okay? And what's really great about that is that it stays much flatter. And I can just use my regular presser foot for this. And what I want to do is that the opening in the foot is oblong, okay? And what I can do is I can make sure that the right side of the opening is at the edge of the fabric, so that way the right swing on the needle will go over the edge and keep the edge from fraying. And you don't need a special foot to be able to do this, okay? So let me show you this. Now look at the difference between those two stitches. This one is laying really flat up here, and it looks like a zigzag, but it is laying flat. It is not distorting the edge, and it will keep these threads from coming off the edge. Now there is a thread right here that's coming off the edge, but it will not come any further because these stitches are holding them to the edge. So when you overcast, you want those stitches close to the edge, whether it's, you don't really want to use a plain zigzag or this, okay? Now, this is something, if you've got this stitch, like I said, it is often right next to the regular zigzag. The regular zigzag is smooth line, smooth line, smooth line, smooth line. The three-step zigzag is an interrupted line where it goes dash, 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 like that, okay? Now, there is a stitch that is commonly used with a foot like this. Now, this foot looks really complicated. If you look at it, it is very strange. It's got a brush here. This is actually a brush attached there. There are wires attached underneath here. They're attached to the front of the foot but open at the back. And there's this guide hanging down here. It's really quite the foot, you know, but it is a really great foot to keep the edge from getting crunched up like it did right here, okay? The stitch that we're going to look for, and that's in my mode 3 on this machine, oh, so fancy, 08. What happens with this stitch, I'm going to adjust that where I want it, is that when the needle swings, I'm going to guide the edge of the fabric, okay? Let me pick this up. I'm going to guide this so that the foot, the black guide, hangs off the edge of the fabric like this, okay? And that's going to guide it just right. Now the wires underneath, the needle is going to swing across and go over this wire here, and it's going to keep, when it swings back, it's going to keep the edge from crunching up like it did on this edge with a plain zigzag. So let me change this foot. See if that's where I want that to be. Okay. And also the other thing is sometimes you have threads sticking up off the edge like this. Well, the brush, it's like, why is there a brush there? The brush, as the needle goes down and comes back up, that thread could catch this thread and bring it up and wrap it around. And we don't want that to happen. So the brush keeps this from coming up and getting wrapped around. Okay, so whenever you do an overcasting, you do not have to backstitch because you're just holding threads onto the fabric itself. So, but you also don't want to start at the very end. Now this, my needle's way off to the right. I might hang on to that, that thread back here because it has nothing to dive into and hold that thread for me. Now I can let it go. See, it's going to swing over like this. It's going to go in a straight line. It's going to swing over and go through that brush and then swing back again. Let's see how that's doing. It's looking pretty good. A lot of times people think this looks, oh, it's kind of like what you would use for a serger. I mean, you could use a serger. If you have a serger, you can just skip over all this stuff. You can just ignore it, you know. But I'm doing this for the people that don't have a serger so you can understand. Now look at how flat that is. That is a very flat stitch. It captures the threads off the edge. Even if I pull on these threads, they do not come off the edge of the fabric. You can cut them. I don't know that it's really necessary because they're not going to fray. We do this so that when you wear the fabric, when you wear the garment or whatever it is, or you wash it, mainly when you wash it, these edges will not fray to nothing. You won't have it shred. See, I could just pull off those threads and I've got a little fringe going here. It's probably hard to see, but there's a little fringe going. So, all right, so that's something that you can do there. Now, some people don't even have anything but a straight stitch on a machine. So these are nice and big ones. These are really old, extra large teeth with pinking shears. I don't know how they ever came up with the word pinking. but they have a zigzag. They cut with a zigzag. You know, nowadays there are a lot of decorative edge scissors with the scrapbooking people and for kids to do decorative edges to their projects or whatever like that. The thing is if I pull on a thread here and I pull that, it can pull nearly the whole way across. See, there's some threads underneath that one, but I can pull that all the way across, and then it just keeps shredding and you get a big fringe. All right, so this is something that was developed, I don't know how long ago. I should look into the history of pinking shears. They're really stiff, and when you use pinking shears, here's the caveat: don't go and cut a lot off. You basically want to just have this side of the teeth here, that's between the blades, along the edge of the fabric. I'm actually going to go a little in because I'm going to cut off the fringe. But all right, when I get past the fringy part, what you want to do is you're just going to cut off little triangles of fabric. Just little triangles. You do not want to, look at this, it makes kind of a mess. I usually do it over a wastebasket because it makes like a little confetti mess. But if you look at that, there is this little ridge of peaks, and what you'll find is if you pull on it, it doesn't fray because all these little peaks will keep one long thread, which is way down here, from shredding. So this will keep things from fraying. It's a very low tech but a long-standing way to do it. The problem I have found with my students over many years is that people will say, oh, let me just pink this, and they'll be going like this, and pretty soon they have this crazy edge, and it may look really fun right now, but it's not very good for a garment because it's uneven. What you really want to do is that you want to just cut off that edge, and I support the scissors with my fingers. I've shown this in other videos. I support the shears with my fingers so that they're not waving in the air, and I have control of it. So I'm going to take, whoop, that's not enough. You see, I don't have peaks. So I'm going to move that over a little bit. And I try and connect with the last little peak that I did, and continue. And you can see it's shooting off here into little confetti. So I'm actually doing better over here. This is not so great. You see, I didn't line it up and I got all these little tiny peaks, almost like double peaks. It's much better if you can get ones that are full peaks right along the edge. But it is a low-tech version of overcasting an edge, of finishing an edge to keep it from fraying. You know, I don't know how well of course I have a white background here. I did it on this piece of fabric. Maybe you can see that better because there's a white background behind it. It's a nice facet, colorful. Kind of goes with the fabric I've got there. But anyway, so then that's that finish. It's a little harder when you're doing the zipper. You don't want to ever finish an edge before you sew it, hardly ever. But we are doing that on this edge because we cannot finish it once the zipper is in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark, here I've got a ruler on my table, I don't know if you can see it, but I'm going to put a pin at 1.5 inches from this edge and 1.5 inches from this end, this corner. You can also use a sewing gauge if you want and set the ruler, the slider, see there's a slider here, for 1.5 and measure from the corner to 1.5 and the corner to 1.5 and put a pin there. It's really important that you do that on both of these. So here I'm going on the edge that has the interfacing because this is going to help you place the zipper correctly. 1.5 and 1.5 here. Sorry about that. My hands are probably in the way. Okay, so now I wanted to show you, there was something else I wanted to show you. Oh yes, the zipper. So here's the thing, is that when you have the zipper, and I have this open because I uncurled the edges with my good iron, which is hot, but I'm just going to demonstrate with this iron. I don't know if it's warm. I have it plugged in. Here, we're going to do it on top of the sewing machine. Okay. When you have a zipper like this, you have to uncurl the teeth so that you can sew next to the teeth. The teeth here are curled, and I need to uncurl them to sew next to them, and then when I zip it shut, it will curl up again. Now, you do not want to iron these teeth because they're nylon and you could melt them, okay? And you don't ever really have to use a high temperature on an iron. Even if you have linen or cotton, you can still do very good ironing with a wool setting and steam. You don't need it to be on linen or cotton, okay? So I'm going to do this because I'm going to iron this way. I'm going to put these pins in here so as I pull, they won't give me trouble. It won't slide. The zipper won't slide. Okay, so what I'm going to do, this is like a mini travel iron, but I'm going to take this. Whoops. Oh, sorry about that. Let me put that like that. Okay. I'm going to open this up ahead of my fingers. So I'm ironing it on the back of the zipper teeth. And I'm going to keep going all the way down as far as I can until I get down to where the zipper slider is. And after I finish doing that, I'm going to leave this open because if I close this zipper again, when it's hot, I'm just curling those teeth up again, and then I'm going to have to iron it again before I sew it, okay? So I'm going to get rid of this and this. Whoa, there's that. And yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, sorry about all this. I know this is rather informal. Oh, I'm not like sewing with Nancy. Okay, so I'm going to get this presser foot off because I've done that overcasting right now. I'm going to put my regular presser foot on. Snap-on foot. Now, here's the thing, is that there are a couple things. When you have a zipper like this, what you want to do is that you need to measure, like I have a 1/2 inch seam allowance planned for this, but the distance between the teeth and the edge of the zipper is barely 3/4 of an inch. I mean 3/8 of an inch. So if I put this right at the edge, my seam allowance is going to be small. So I want to move it over so that I don't have to worry about this not being a 1/2 inch on this place. Now another thing is that when you shorten a zipper, you never shorten it at the top is considered where the zipper slider ends. This is considered the top of the zipper, where when the zipper is closed, where is the zipper slider, okay? So this zipper is open, so the bottom is where the zipper can go down to and open to. The top is here, and there's a stop. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little tiny piece of like melted plastic. Well, I'm sure they didn't melt it. It was put on there that way. This might be a little easier to see because this is metal. Yeah, see, it's just a shiny metal. The top of this zipper is a shiny metal, okay? So the top of the zipper is there. You never shorten the zipper, you hardly ever. I'm not gonna say never because there's always exceptions because there are some cool techniques out there with skirts and that. But on here, we're gonna shorten the zipper if we need to at the bottom, never at the top. If you cut this off, the zipper can just slide off the end and you'll not be able to get it back on. You'll have to replace the zipper, which is not fun. Okay, now when I place this on my pillow edge, I want to imagine that these are going to go side by side here. And I want my zipper to be face up, right side up. And this edge will go here, and this one will go here. But again, whenever we sew something, we tend to sew it right sides together. So when I take this zipper, I look at the right side of the zipper because the zipper dangle is on the right side, and I flip it right sides together. Now I do not want to put the end of the zipper tape here at the needle. I want the end, the zipper stop at the needle, okay? So if you want to see that, I can even go like this, put a pin there. So that's where the zipper stop is. I want that right next to that pin there. And I'm going to take and put a pin in here. I'm leaving a little space next to the edge. Okay, now the distance from the teeth to the edge is now 1/2 inch. Now this can be hard for a lot of people to say, oh my gosh, how am I going to know how much that is? It's about 1/8 inch. So you could draw a chalk line 1/8 inch. I suppose, you know, like if I use a serger, one of my stitching lines is 1/8 inch from the edge, and I put it along there. So what I like to do here is I like to lay this down and put pins in. And I'm going to put my pins in parallel to the very edge of the zipper tape. And I'm going to hold this here as I lay this down. If I don't hold this here where the original pin is, I might buckle the fabric. I mean, I'm exaggerating it, but it's very easy to pull on the fabric and not realize that you did that. So hold it here, and then see how easy it is to buckle that fabric, and put a pin in like maybe about 3 inches down. And I'm going very, very, very close to the edge. This edge does not fray because it is a tape. It's a ribbon or whatever you want to call it. It's the zipper tape, doesn't fray along the edge. So I'm going to put in a few pins parallel to that, and I'm going to point them toward the, in this case, the top of the zipper. But when you sew, we tend to have the fabric to the left of our machine. So if I was to sew around a square, I'm going to sew basically clockwise around that square. So I want the pins to point this way so I can pull them out toward me if I need to. This is something that can apply to so many things when you have the pins turned parallel to the edge like this, okay? A lot of times when I'm sewing a seam, I have the pins pinned perpendicular to the edge. In this case, I'm going to pin them parallel to the edge. Oh, just stuck that underneath my fingernail. I love that. That's so fun. Okay. Right. So now I have my pins one right after the other like this. And the reason I do this is because I'm going to stitch just a secure stitch down the middle of this zipper tape to secure it in place for me to then sew close to the zipper teeth. Okay, so I want to sew in the middle of that. Well, one way I can do that is to sew with, okay, let's see, I gotta get into mode 1 again. Okay, I want to sew with my regular presser foot, but put the needle way over to the left. Now, most machines, if you can have more than one needle position, if you can only have 2, they will have the center needle position and they will have the left needle position. So if you can put it in the left needle position, do that, okay? And if you put, now how do you guide? You're going to sew, you're going to start here, back stitch to where this sideways pin is, where this zipper stuff is. You're going to sew right down here all the way to this pin down here where I have that 1.5 inch from the corner mark. And you're going to back stitch here, you're going to back stitch here. Don't go over this pin or over this pin. Now, the thing is, I could draw a line here, but I probably wouldn't be able to see it because the presser foot's going to cover the line. So that's why I put these sideways pins here. And I put the pins way, these parallel pins that are parallel to the edge, way over here so the needle won't hit that. Oops, just want to get, you can do a basting stitch, you can do a regular stitch. It's really up to you. It's just to hold it in place while we do our other stitching. Okay, so I'm going to put the needle down, come back, right, and I'm going to leave that pin in. Okay, so I'm going to do like this, and I can sew on top of this pin over here, and then pull it out. I'm actually taking and running the side of the foot against the bump of the zipper teeth. Can you see how my sewing gauge is behind the zipper teeth there? All right, that foot can ride right along there. Now I like to pull these pins out here as late as I can so I don't push the zipper away from the edge. I try to keep it in the position I want it. Okay, so now I'm going to keep sewing until I'm almost to that pin head and pull it out. Now if you are sewing and you're finding that you get really far, you're like, oh, I can't pull the pin, there's too much pressure on the foot, lift the presser foot and pull the pin out. It's really good idea if you can have the needle stop down into the fabric that you do that. If your machine doesn't do that, you may have to turn the hand wheel at the end to do that. Having a machine that stops with the needle down is very, very helpful. Okay, so I'm pulling that. I'm going to show you how to take and sew close to the teeth with a few different options, okay? Now I'm getting really close to this sideways pin. Okay, I can go needle up, needle down with my machine. Oops, just glanced off that pin. And a back stitch. All right, now I'm going to leave these pins in because I want to know where I started and stopped. Can you see that line of stitching? This is why I wanted to use a contrasting stitch here for you to see. It's cut this original thread. Okay, so I do not want to stitch in this corner or in this corner, so I'm going to keep these pins in to help me see that. Now I'm going to go back to regular stitch length, and I want to change presser feet so I can go right against this. Most sewing machines have a zipper foot that looks like this, and this is like this little toe, a single toe with a cutout on each side. Can you see that? A cutout on each side. And that's so that the needle can ride right next to the edge. Now these feet are actually raised up on the underside so that you can go right next to the zipper. It can ride over the zipper teeth. So that can work just fine. The snap-on foot is very easy to do, okay? Some machines, like if you have a straight stitch machine, like an old Singer, like a Featherweight or something like that, you're gonna have to use an adjustable zipper cording foot that will allow you to sew right next to the edge of the foot, okay? And then later I'm gonna put this zipper foot. This is a foot that will allow me to sew right next to it. But I'll bring, oh, and then there's also, you see, here's the thing. You can go to the store and buy a package of plastic with different shank invisible zipper feet, and they're plastic, and they are just so flimsy that they don't work very well. This particular foot I bought for this machine has some grooves underneath. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a groove to the right and a groove to the left of center, and that can actually ride right on the zipper teeth like this, so you perfectly place your line of stitching, okay? Now, I'm not going to show you how to do that, even though that's a worthwhile foot. If you're going to do a lot of invisible zippers, it's really worthwhile to get one of these feet, okay? But a lot of people are just starting to try this, so why invest in that? So I'm going to put this regular snap-on zipper foot that nearly everyone gets in their sewing machine onto my machine. Now, this actually has 2 bars. You can put the presser foot on your machine with either the left bar or the right bar. And I want to put it on my left bar because I want the foot to be to the right of where I'm stitching. Now sometimes it's hard to get on because it'll tip down on this side because it's raised up underneath. So I'm going to try and hold it there and get that clicked on. Now I'm going to look at this and see if maybe I can move the needle over so it's just inside that cutout. So here's the cutout over on the left. You want your needle to be just inside it, not outside and not way over in that cutout, okay? I want to make sure that this stays open as I sew it. Oops. And so I'm going to start here. And you're going to put, I call the front of the foot the toe. This is a single toe like a mini toboggan. And I want to just check to see that that's going right next to the zipper teeth. I do not want this to roll up. There's a little fabric edge next to the teeth, and it's very easy if this rolls up for the needle to catch it if the needle's too far out. I'm going to put my finger here to keep that open as I sew. So I'm going to go like this, back stitch to that pin, and I'm going to go forward again like this. And I can actually just let my finger ride in front of the foot and let the feed dogs pull it for me, because this zipper's in the right place because I secured it there and I don't have to worry about pins. Sometimes the pins can maybe make things go crooked or something, so it's just nice to have that secure line of stitching. One more stitch, back stitch. So I'm going just up to this pin. Again, I could take a friction pen, you know, like this, and put friction pens by Pilot disappear with the iron. I could put a mark here and I could put a mark here. I don't know if you can see it, but it's a dark mark right here and here. But this will cover it, and I won't be able to see where to start and stop. So that's why I am using a pin sticking out like this to know where to start and stop. Okay, now that is secured to that side. Now I'm going to check to see, is this stitched correctly? If it is, I can close the zipper, and it closed just fine. If I had sewn too close and caught the edge, it would not have sewn. Now if you look at that, that folds over right at the center of the zipper. You can see there's the center right here, and it folds over right at that. That is a really nice application. Now the other thing is that this is not puckery at all. It is not bunchy because I put interfacing there. Now I've got my pin marks on this other one here. Now this is going to, these are going to be like this. So what I want to do is I want to take this and put this over here. Now sometimes this is a good time to mark this just for placement. I'm going to go over here and mark right opposite there, and I know where to place the other end of the zipper because I've got the little zipper stop right here, so I really don't have to mark that, but I might just do it just for the heck of it. Okay, remember this is a friction pen, not any other kind of pen, because I want this to disappear with the iron if I need to get rid of the marks. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to lift this up. See, the zipper is going against the pillow. I'm going to lift it up so it's off the edge like that, so I can put the right side of the zipper against the right side of the other side of the pillow. All right. So what I can do also, I know I'll put it, the pin is in the right place if these edges of the pillow match up. I don't want to put this zipper on here and have this not meet up. See how that's crooked? That's mismatched. So I'm going to bring this over. That mark is at the pin. And you'll see that up here that this matches up, so that's very good. And again, remember I said that the distance between the edge of the zipper tape and the place you're going to sew is only 3/8 of an inch. So I want to have an 1/8 inch gap there. Okay. I mean, I guess I could take one of these friction pens. It won't show up very well on this. It's about halfway, right down the middle of my overcasting stitch here, and I could make a mark there. You might want to use a Choco liner instead, because those are really good at showing up on darker fabrics. But I could draw a line. Oh, it's really hard to see right there to bring the zipper to. Now here's the thing. It might make it easier for me to open the zipper now that I've got this placed in order to pin the rest of the zipper. So I'm going to open this up. Now I tested the zipper on this side, because what if I have trouble if I wait to close the zipper till both sides are on? If I have trouble, I won't know which side is giving me the trouble. So if I know I tested this side and it worked, if I sew this side on and it gives me trouble, then I know this side is the problem side. It's just to save you in the future. Now here, I've got this pinned here. I'm going to bring this up here. So the first time I sewed the first half of the zipper on, I pinned it consecutively. I pinned from one end to the other, trying to keep it flat. But here, I want to use the same amount of zipper on both sides of the pillow, okay? That actually fits quite nicely. So I'm going to pin it at each end and then maybe hold it here and then try and pull on it and then put my finger down so I can pin it in the middle. So I'm distributing the fabric evenly. See, I'm keeping that 1/8 of an inch from the edge. Then I can pin it again. I kind of go at each end, then I go in the middle, then I go in the middle here, and I go in the middle over here. Sometimes it helps to lay it down. All right. And if that's enough pins, then I would stop there, but maybe I want more pins because I'm going to do my secure line of stitching. And I tend to overpin this. I tend to pin it a lot. Some of my students prefer to just put in a hand basting stitch. Just do a running stitch the whole way to hold that in the place because they don't like dealing with the pins. And that's absolutely fine. It probably takes just about the same amount of time to do that. And then you can pull the basting out later. Okay. So now I've pinned that a lot. And I'm going to change back to my regular foot and to the left needle position. There we go. And I'm going to go, and then this is nicely out of the way because I opened the zipper. All right, and it makes it easier to sew, of course. I'm going to sew between this pin and this pin, which are 1.5 inches from each corner. Okay. All right, and I'll use the left side of the foot along the edge. All right. Well, not along the edge. The left side of the foot is going against the teeth. See the ridge of the teeth. always be looking for some way to guide your stitches. That's the thing, is that whenever you're sewing, you're always looking for some way to guide your stitches, whether it's the side of the foot, whether it's a piece of tape over here, a magnetic guide, whatever it is, you need a way so that you're sewing parallel to your edge or whatever. Now there, I sewed a long way over the pin, so I had to lift the presser foot up because there was too much pressure on it and it was too far underneath the presser foot for me to be able to pull that out easily. Okay, so here I am. Pull that out. Ooh, I pulled out an extra one. Oh, I pulled out my end pin. Oh, that was not a good idea because I may not be able to see my mark. So I'm going to put another one in. There we go. At least this video, my machine's not making the camera bounce because I'm going so slowly. Okay. You only need 2 to 3 stitches for a back stitch when you do a back stitch, because it's like tying your sneakers. When you tie your sneakers, you only tie a knot and a bow. You don't tie at every eyelet. So you only need a few stitches here and a few stitches here to hold it. You don't need 10 stitches, or you don't have to go forward, back, forward, back, forward, back to get it to work. Okay, so I think I discovered on my machine a position of like 3.0 works pretty well for needle position. I don't know why. I like to use like a 2.5 millimeter stitch length. If you do not have it, your stitches labeled as 0 to 4 or 0 to 5, the really old machines, they go from like 6 to 20. They're referring to how many stitches per inch. We want 10 stitches per inch is our standard length for secure stitching. Okay, I'm going to have to open this up because it's curling a bit, but I'm going to take this and open that up a little bit, put that right there, and start a little past the pin. I'm a little concerned that that wants to roll so much. So maybe I can use something like, instead of my finger, the sewing gauge to secure that for me. Another option for getting in there is like you can use, this is like a mini bamboo skewer. Those are really great to use to get in really close. I don't know how I came across these little ones, but they're really nice, and I bought like a bunch and just have them in the sewing area, so if someone needs something like that, I can just give them one of those. So I'm going to hold this open so I can sew close to that, the bump of the teeth, but not go through the teeth or not go through the fabric next to the teeth, on the outside of the teeth. Okay, so I'm almost there. Okay, and back stitch. Again, 2 to 3 stitches, my standard. I have a computerized industrial machine. I have it set for an automatic 3-stitch back stitch when I'm doing my other work, my custom work. Okay, so now, actually what's cool about this, you'll be able to see the 2 lines of stitching here and the 2 lines of stitching on here that I did. Okay, now I'm going to flip this so it's right side up. Now when you have a really long zipper hanging off here, what you may find happens is that you'll get a twist, and you'll be like, how come this isn't zipping? Well, you probably just have to untwist it and have it close. Now here, let's see if this is going to close okay. Closed beautifully. Now if you look at that, you do not see the zipper. This is why it's called an invisible zipper. Okay, you don't see the zipper. All you see is this dangle tab, and you'll see that that dangle tab blends, if we lucked out, it blends in really nicely right here. Okay, so all you're going to see when you have an invisible zipper is this. Now if you sewed too far from the zipper, if you pull really hard, you might see a little bit of the red, but that's not going to get pulled that hard, so we're okay. But if you have it laying gently like this and you see a big gap, you need to sew closer to the teeth. You don't have to take out the other stitches, you know, but don't be a big fat chicken. You got to get a little closer. But all right, so now we need to finish the ends here and then sew the rest of the pillow. Now, one thing I'm going to point out, I did not bother overcasting these edges because I can overcast this side and this side together when they're a pillow and save thread and save time. So I can't sew right now this whole thing shut. Ooh, okay. that going to match up? I hope it matches up. Well, we'll do the best we can. Fabric is flexible. So I've got this all set here. I have to sew next to here. Let me show you. This is where we're going to have to do a couple things. Now, this right here is the zipper. It's kind of like this, like your hand is flat. When we sew it like this, it's going to be like this. And that zipper foot that we were using right here, that back of that zipper foot that's raised up right here, that is not going to go over a zipper when it's like this. It'll go over a zipper when it's flat like this, but it will not go over a zipper when it's like this. So that's when you have to bring out an adjustable zipper cording foot, this is called. This is called adjustable because you have this knob in the back, and you can loosen this and slide the foot from side to side to get it where you need it. And there's nothing that's going to get stuck because it just slides right along there as we need it to, okay? So I'm going to show you this. I'm going to just mention this one because this is awesome. There are very few brands, and they should do this, but there are very few brands that actually have a foot where the back of the foot doesn't stick out past where the front of the foot sticks out. You'll notice most snap-on zipper feet, even on this side, it juts out further than where you want the needle to be at the edge of the foot. This juts out a lot. That's one reason they raise it up at the bottom. They make it uneven, okay? So what's really cool about this foot, which I discovered, is that it's flush to the side, and I can do that. But you don't have this foot, and you may not be able to buy this foot. This is the E foot. It's a special E foot. On Janome, they call it the E foot. Right here, E. And this is the E foot, but it's a special E foot. And this one actually hooks in. There's a little spot, like just above the heel here, and you hook it in to that little notch there and then put it down so that it doesn't wobble too much, okay? So that's awesome. But that's probably not what you have handy when you're trying to do your invisible zipper. So what I'm going to do is, just so I'm going to take off. You have to take off, if you have a snap-on foot, you have to take off your snap-on foot mechanism, okay? So I'm going to do that right now. I just loosen that. Just loosen that with a screwdriver and do the rest. Now, this particular one, it goes on like this around the screw, that hole. This goes around the screw from the back. It's like, here's your screw, and it hooks around the shank of the screw like this, and the shaft of where that gets attached. So I'm going to go here, bring it around from the back like that. Sorry, my hand was in the way, like that. Then I'm going to hold it there as I tighten this. Sorry, I can't do it without my hand being in the way. All right. Ooh, now that is interesting. That is very interesting. I wonder, I haven't used this foot before, but it is not going to work on this machine. Darn. I have another one. It must have been designed, I don't know. This is very strange. It is crooked on my machine. Sorry about the big clunk there. I did order another one. Let's see if this one works. I haven't had to do this, but I thought it would be good to have. Okay, this one looks like it's going to work. Let's see. Yes, okay. So this one is an interesting one. It's like that one, except it also you can sew down the middle if you want. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is that's on. I'm going to tighten it with the screwdriver, because it's never as tight as your finger. It's tighter with a screwdriver than with your fingers. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to loosen this back here. Oh, and of course, since this is brand new, you get to see me do all sorts of, well, this is going to teach you how to manage this stuff. I've been finding lately when I've been buying these adjustable zipper cording feet, because I buy them wholesale for my students, because it's like much better price for them, and then I have it when they need it, because they're not always sure when they need it. Got all my tools back here. Sometimes these knobs are too tight to actually adjust. So that was too tight. So now I can put it on the machine again, because I had to use pliers to loosen that. Tighten that with the screwdriver. Now I can loosen this, and I'm going to move the foot to the right of the needle. Now sometimes what you need to do, And okay, righty-tighty is the opposite when it's away from you. Okay, I'm going to move the needle down and see that it's just inside that notch. So here's the notch. The needle should be inside the notch, okay? So that the foot is completely to the left of the needle in this case. And a lot of times I want to put my presser foot down to make sure that it is in the right place when the foot is down, because sometimes those things have some wiggle to them. Hopefully they would be machined better and they wouldn't move when you put the foot down, but that's not always the case. I wish it wasn't. Okay, I think it's hitting my my AccuFeed mechanism here. Hopefully that doesn't give me troubles. Okay. All right, so here's the thing. I was talking about how the I'm going to take the zipper, and when it's like this, no problem. But we're going to turn the zipper instead of flat, sideways, and it goes from this to this, and we cannot get one of those snap-on zipper feet around it. I'm going to take this, and I say this to my students, I want to get these seam allowances out of the way. All right, so I'm going to wrap the seam allowances around the zipper like a hot dog, a bun around a hot dog, okay? And I'm doing it just inside the stitching line. I'm going to take that hot dog and stick it up there so it's out of the way of my seam line. And I'm going to put my corners together of my pillow. I can't get a regular presser foot in here, so I have to go from here to at least that far to be able to stitch that. Now, one thing you could do if you wanted to is that you could draw a line for your 1/2 inch seam allowance on there. I like to go from this toward the corner, okay? Now, the other thing is that the stitching ends right here. I don't want to start there and go because I don't want a hole to develop. So I'm going to overlap that 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch, and so right next to there, and continue. Okay, so I'm going to put this underneath. Now, you may have to lift your presser foot extra high to get it over this zipper that's like this, not like this, okay? Now I'm going to put it there, and I'm going to start it. Ooh, that's going to go through. That's a little too far out, okay. I'm going to move the needle because that presser foot was so stubborn. I'm going to go forward, back, and forward. I'm going to go far enough to get out of the way so I can switch to a regular presser foot. Okay. Now, the end of the zipper, the bottom end, is easier to do than the other end. Now look at this. It looks like, oh my God, I'm so far away. It's going to be obvious on the other side. Well, what's amazing is that it's not. Because right now, can you tell where I started and stopped stitching? You can't. It's just really amazing. You cannot tell where the seam is or the zipper sewing is. It's really cool. Now, here's the thing. When I do this end, I cannot just leave the zipper closed because the zipper tab's in the way and this big zipper slider is in the way. So I have to get it out of the way. All right. Plus, when I sew the rest of the zipper, I don't want the zipper shut because I won't be able to turn it right side out. And believe me, that's happened to me and various other people. Okay, when I do this now, this is harder than this because this is shut here when I sewed it. But this, I have to match up the ends, the zipper tab, the zipper stops. I need to match those up. I do not want this to be mismatched. Okay. So I want to match those up so the zipper teeth don't get all wonky. And I go like that. Now, what I like to do, and this takes a little practice, I put the needle, the pin, straight in, pinch it, and turn it so that I can get this right about where those are sewn in. See, I've got it right on the zipper line, the stitching line, and this at the stitching line. I'm going to hold that. Now, when I turn it, I don't want to shift where those are. And that could happen, so I'm going to pinch it. So hopefully it doesn't happen. I'm trying to do this so that we don't let these zipper teeth curl down and get hit by the stitching. Now these, if these get stuck, these little parts that didn't get sewn, they get stuck in the stitching, you're going to see that zipper. So I'm going to push them up out of the way. All right. And maybe it'll be best if I maybe pin near the edge up here. And then, ooh, that's a long pin. Ooh. Then you see I've got that, so these are out of the way. And I'm going to stitch right next to the pin. All right. And again, the stitching ends here, but I want to start about 3/8 of an inch before then and continue that way. So luckily the machine's all set up. And all I have to do is just start here, and I'm going to stitch next to the pin. Now here, this wants to go this way. I'm going to, you know, I'm stronger than fabric. I can make it do what I want. Okay, so I'm going to go like this. Back stitch. Go forward. And I did not mark a line, but, you know, I'll just try and go straight. As long as I can get far enough away to switch to a regular foot, that's far enough, okay? Now, if you look at this, you'll see that that looks really great. Now, when I close the zipper, got to remember to open it before I do the end. What's really, really cool is that you don't see the front of this zipper. I don't know, to me, growing up in Wisconsin, it looks kind of like the front of a tractor. It's this big bulky thing in front of the zipper tab. But what's really neat is that when you close it, the front of that disappears into that seam allowance, and all you see is just this little dangly tab. Okay, it's really cool. And look at, you can't really tell where the zipper, the seam starts and stops and the zipper starts and stops. It's really awesome. Now, when I want to do the rest of this, I'm going to open that zipper. Okay, now I can shorten the zipper, but I'm going to wait until I'm done sewing before I do that. Okay, so now I want to sew the 3 sides closed. Okay, so I'm going to match up the corner down here, and a lot of times what I like to do is I like to pin a 1/2 inch before the corner so I know where I'm going to turn, stop, and pivot. Match up these corners. I've been doing this for a long time, so my eye is pretty good. And then match up these sides here. It's about 1/16 of an inch off, but hey, it'll still work. Now, you can pin, you should pin, if you really like to pin every 3 inches, okay? You want to make sure those edges are even. We don't want it so that these edges are not even, like right there. There's a little wrinkle that was in the fabric that is being very stubborn. I ironed it earlier before I cut it, but so I'm going to pin just halfway between those. Okay, now that's, see, that's a little off. Oh well, guess I'll just make it work. Okay, Tim Gunn says that, doesn't he? Okay, make it work. Okay, so now what I can do is I can take a piece of tape. Oop, I gotta go back to my regular scheduled foot. Though actually I could conceivably, okay, let's put this in the center. This particular foot has a slot in the middle, so I could conceivably just move it over and sew it. Let's try that. What the heck? I'll show you the foot afterwards, or try to remember to show you the foot. Okay, so I'm going to go like this, and I'm going to put a piece of tape at a 1/2 inch so I can guide the edge of the fabric to that piece of tape. This is just artist tape. You can also use painter's tape, like the blue painter's tape, or drafting tape. Don't use masking tape. That leaves a nasty residue, and definitely don't use duct tape. Ooh, nasty. And Scotch tape won't work very well because you can't see it. A little back stitch. I'm going over some of the stitches I did before. Okay, and lift that up and move that back over. Okay, then I can just do, okay, it's going to get noisy here and you might get some vibration. Okay. Sorry about that. That's just how this machine is. Okay, now I'm getting really close to that pin. I put that pin, I tried to put it really close to the 1/2 inch mark, and it is. So I can just keep going like that, pivot there. Now, this is kind of boring, I'm sure, because it's just straight stitching. Get really close there. Lift and pivot. Okay, that's great. That's 1/2 inch. Now look at, even with all that careful bit, I have, it's a little off right here. Luckily it's a pillow, so it's not going to matter so much. It might matter on a dress where you're trying to match seams and that, but luckily it's just a pillow, so no one will know. I'm going to just pivot around that corner. I don't want any gaps to happen, so I'm going to go around there, back stitch, and cut the thread, okay? And luckily I left my pocket open, my zipper open. Okay, now I want to finish that edge, okay? Oh, no, I can't. I need my screwdriver to get that foot off. It's not a snap-on foot. So I'll have the foot down because that screw's so high, and then loosen it enough to get that off of there. This is what I was talking about. This is a cool foot when it has a slot in the middle along with the two sides. That can be a very handy foot if you're going to get an adjustable zipper cording foot. It's really good for making piping and for doing zippers. So come on, go in there. I think this is a little wider than those other ones were. Yep, here we go. Okay, so now I've got my regular foot on. So then I wanted to finish those edges, okay? So I'm just going to sew the edges together, and I'm just going to do my three-step zigzag. In fact, another little trick is that I showed this on the scrub cap video, is that this is what's called an applique foot. It's an F as in Frank foot for a Janome, also Elna, and maybe even Neki, I'm not sure. But what happens is it's used for applique stitches, satin stitches that will bunch up a little bit underneath, and so it's actually raised up in the very middle. And what makes this nice is if I choose to do the three-step zigzag, I can have the right toe hang off the edge as my guide, so that makes it real easy for me. You're always looking for ways, so I'm using an applique foot in a way that's not considered what it was made for, but it helps me a lot. I often use it for guiding top stitching, or in this case guiding the three-step zigzag. It's a very handy foot for many things, okay? Sorry, so now I'm gonna have to lift the needle because I have to turn the corner there. And I don't know if you can see the three-step zigzag, but it's very flat and it works very well here. It's not a very fast stitch because of the three steps back and forth. I have this on full speed, pedal to the metal, so it's not going really fast, but it does the job and it's staying flat. It was very easy to switch over to, so that's one reason I chose it. And then turn the corner. And again, with the overcasting, you do not have to, what do you call it? You don't have to backstitch, okay? Now, one thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to take and show you a cool way to turn it so the corners aren't lumpy. And that's why I'm trying to get through this as quickly as I can. Also, I'll show you how to shorten the zipper. This doesn't, I would shorten it because this sticks past the seam line, just to get rid of the extra zipper. Some others, if I had 2 inches, I might not even bother shortening it. So those are stitched together. Let me switch to a regular zigzag. And I'm going to have the zigzag as wide as I can get it. And I'm going to make it go at 0. If you have a stitch length 0, that's what I would set it for. I'm going to take and lift the zipper away from the rest where it's sewn to the pillow. And I'm going to zigzag above where the bottom of the zipper is so that I can cut it past there. If you were to just cut this, see, this doesn't pull apart because they actually melted the teeth together. You can't see that from here, but probably 3 or 4 of the teeth have been melted together, so this won't pull apart. But if you were to just cut it, you'd pull apart the zipper and you couldn't get it back together again. Then you'd have to undo all that stitching. So it's a good reason not to do, to be cautious and make sure you do what we call a bar tack. It's just going to go back and forth over the teeth. What I like to do a lot of times is I like to take and check, maybe do a hand turn on the wheel to make sure the needle's not going to hit the teeth of the zipper. Now, this being a fairly, like a dress weight zipper, the teeth aren't that big. But if you were to do like a large tooth zipper, you may want to watch out and make sure that your needle isn't going to hit the teeth. Now look at that. See, it just goes back and forth and back and forth. I know enough to make this bar tack. Then you can take a pair of scissors. Let's see. Well, I guess I'll use these and cut that off. You need to leave a little space beyond it so that, and then you see that's not going to get into the corner of the zipper. You can see that this is within within there before it was beyond where the edge of the pillow is going to be. Okay, so now if I just turn this right side out like this, what ends up happening is that my corners do not look so great. Do you see how that's not a sharp corner? And it's all lumpy. Well, I don't trim my corners. A lot of times when you're doing collars or that, you trim the corner diagonally to reduce the bulk in the seam allowance. Well, I don't need to do that because pillow forms don't fill in the corners. This is just fabric here. There's no fuzz in the corner. So you don't need to trim out the bulk in the corner here. What I do instead is I fold the corner to turn it, and it comes out really nicely. Okay, so I'm going to go here and I'm going to put my thumb in that corner, and I'm going to fold the seam allowances one way, and I'm going to fold it. If I put my thumb in here, I'm going to fold it, the seam allowance, toward my index finger. I'm going to fold that over like that. Then I'm going to fold this one along the stitching line and hold it like I'm saying okay, and I'm going to keep my thumb and finger held together as I bring the fabric from my thumb over my finger. And look at this beautiful corner that I get. It's a really nice corner. It's very sharp and geometric. Now I'm going to take and go to the far corner. Now you're going to have to, if you have a big pillow, still do this the same way. I'm just doing a small pillow right now because I had a small form. This is what I had in hand. I'm going to bunch this up like you're putting on tights or nylons, and until your thumb is in that corner again. And you're going to bunch all this fabric up between your thumb and finger, okay? Now you keep it tight in there. You fold that seam allowance toward your index finger and hold it. You then fold this at that side, that seam line, so it's nice and neat and tidy. You pinch it together like you're saying, okay, okay, and you hold it together as you bring the fabric from over your thumb to your finger. And you get this really awesome, nice corner, okay? So again, I'm going to go over here, thumb into that corner, easy when it's near the opening, fold, fold, pinch, and bring it from over one to the other, nice corner. Now I'm going to keep that out like that, and I'm going to bunch this up like I'm putting on tights or nylons, okay? And I've got my thumb tight in that corner. You can even see the curve of my thumbnail. And I fold this over like this. Now, why do I put my thumb in versus my finger? My thumb is bigger here, but when I fold this over, my finger is smaller, and I'm going to get a better corner. Okay, so I'm going to fold this over toward my finger, fold this on this seam line toward my finger so that that fold fits within the stitching corner. Pinch it like you're saying, okay. Bring the fabric from over your thumb over your finger, keeping your thumb and finger together the whole time. Now, when I turn it, I get these really nice corners in all four corners, okay? Now, the thing is, how am I going to get that pillow in this opening? Okay, so what I like to do is I like to take, let's see, okay, is there a seam in here? Okay. Oh, it's a folded pillow. Oh, okay, great. Okay, so what I can do, this has a flap, okay? I'm actually going to reach in there and tear off. I am the consumer, so I can tear off that. I hope I can tear the seam. I haven't been making these you'd think things are made worse nowadays than they used to be, but they don't tear at the seam as well as they should. So I'm just going to carefully cut that off because I don't want that tag in it. Okay, so what I can do here is I can try and squeeze out some of that air, but hold this closed. Where is that opening? This is something that upholsterers do. They'll put a cushion, which is going to fit really tightly into the cover. They'll put it in a garbage bag and then suck the air out of the garbage bag with the cushion in it with a vacuum cleaner. And you see how easy it is to slide it in there? But we've got a trick. We're going to then take and pull the plastic bag out, okay? So I'm going to, you can't be in there to see it, I'm going to put the corner of the pillow form, because I took the plastic off of it, and hold it in this corner. Okay, there we go. And slide the plastic off there, put that in that corner. And now I'll go to this other corner here, slide the plastic off of this corner, try and grab that with the outside of the pillow. There we go. and slide the plastic bag out. It just makes it a little easier. Then adjust the pillow like that. And now I can just pull that shut. And I've got the cutest little bug pillow here. And it fits really well. You see, I wouldn't have wanted it to be any fuller than this because it would have been too full. And then you see, look at how nice that invisible zipper looks. And there's just this little dangle tab here. And you got your pillow done, and you learned a few things about matching thread and invisible zippers. Thank you so much.